Marriage and parenting can be stressful. That is the understatement of the century, especially when your kids are little. So, my husband and I have two under two right now, and I wanted to make this short video for you guys because we just had our second baby a couple of months ago, and I realized after a few weeks post birth that I was making some mistakes with how I was treating my husband, and I'd love to share that experience with you. So, hopefully, you can avoid making a similar mistake in your own marriage during stressful moments. So, first off, my name is Cameron. I'm a couples therapist, a wife, and a mother. And what I started to notice was happening during the stressful time. I say stressful just because I didn't, wasn't sleeping much. Had a baby glued to me 24/7 basically, and also had a toddler that needed everything that he needed before the baby was born, and even more after the baby was born because we were trying to, introduce him to his little brother. So what I realized was I was starting to let slip the habits that I was working so hard to build and how I talked to my husband. So I was basically starting to let my emotions get ahead of me and to control how I talk to him, as opposed to trying to regulate my emotions before talking to my husband. So emotional regulation, super important skill in marriage and every relationship, but it's really hard, when you're tired, when you have a new baby. So I definitely get when people say, sometimes the things that you try to do right in your marriage are going to slip a little bit when you have new kids. I think that's very, a reasonable expectation to have. But I started to realize that I wasn't doing everything I could to still be kind and loving with my husband and be appreciative and grateful of him. And so the challenge I set for myself was, when I'm going to ask him something, when I'm going to ask him for help, when I'm going to give him feedback, when I'm going to just share anything that might be slightly emotional, or if I'm feeling emotional at the time, I first try to deal with my emotions before speaking, because I was noticing that I was saying a lot of things and saying them in ways that were just way more harsh than they needed to be. Like if I wanted him to take out the trash, like the diaper pail, and I was getting frustrated because I had multiple diapers to change and both my kids were crying, and I said, "Can you just take out the diapers? Just take them out." Like he hadn't done anything wrong. He was just sitting, around the house helping me, waiting for me to ask him for help, and in a really special way was trying to be there for me. And I would get frustrated with him for really no reason. And at the time, I could make up all these reasons why I was frustrated. For example, I made the mistake of multiple times feeling like my husband needed to be able to read my mind. He needed to be able to know what I needed when I needed it without me saying anything, which doesn't make any sense at all, that I can't do that for him. I know when he's hungry and needs dinner, but that's other than that, if he's upset about something, I have to ask him what's wrong and what he needs. So why would he not need the same thing from me? So I started trying to separate time-wise the emotions I was feeling from me actually speaking, so that I had at least just a few seconds in between feeling really frustrated and overwhelmed and then speaking to my husband, because I noticed that if I let those emotions into what I was saying, it turned into me trying to punish him for not doing what I wanted fast enough or before I even asked, or, to make him feel basically how I was feeling. That when we speak with a lot of negative emotion, oftentimes it's kind of cathartic because we are trying to project our emotions onto someone else. We're trying to get rid of how we feel by making someone else feel the same way. And most of the time, people don't deserve to feel the way that we're feeling, especially if we're just asking them for help. And so it's totally fine to be emotional. We are so hormonal and so tired when we have a new baby. And so it's totally normal to feel a lot of feelings. But as soon as they start to bleed over into mistreating the person we are supposed to love most, our spouse, then that becomes a moment to try to separate the emotions out from our actions and our words. Because I have more and more realized that your spouse can be the most forgiving person, and God will always forgive you. But the words we say matter and they last. And the more and more we say things that are not kind and are more brutal than they need to be, that sticks around even if your spouse doesn't want it to, and even if you don't want it to. And you can always heal and grow together and be so forgiving and reconcile, but words really mean something. And so I've been trying to either deal with my emotions first and then make a request, or if I'm feeling overwhelmed, I just don't say anything for a moment or however long I need until I can just get myself under control and be sweet to my husband and make sure that he knows that he's the best. So anyway, if you like this content, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, leave a comment on what you thought about the video, if you have any similar experiences. And also, if you want to hear any other topics related to faith or marriage or parenting, I really do love reading all your comments and hearing your different perspectives on the topics that I talk about. So until next time, I'm Cameron, and thanks for watching.